Hey guys, welcome back to Mac Music Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing an album. It's something that I don't usually do on the channel, but I feel like it is something that I should do and that I want to do. I'm going to be taking a second look at the album Crooked by Propaganda and asking, is Crooked a 5-star album? The Christian music review website, Jesus Freak Music Hideout, is it Jesus Freak Hideout or Jesus Freak Music Hideout? JFH. Jesus Freak Hideout. You might not know. But they're like the most reputable, most like cited by Wikipedia, if that means anything, Christian review music site. And I mentioned this in my review of Crooked, my original review, which came out a month or two ago. I'll link that in the description. But I basically I give them an introduction, and I say that this is the most positively reviewed site on the entire history of that channel, which is kind of interesting. It being like a rap album and everything, and they don't even review that much rap music, honestly. Yeah. The review was, and the way the site works is someone can review an album, and then other reviewers on the site can throw in their 2 cents reviews, what they call it, and they can give their second opinion. And what happened with this album is, the original review went up, and then another staffer gave it 5 stars, and another staffer gave it 5 stars, another staffer, to the point where it had 4 total 5-star reviews, which is the most the site has ever had on any one album. Before that, there was an album that had 3 5-star reviews, Becoming Who We Are by King's Kaleidoscope, which I've talked about on this channel. I'll link a review of that album in the description, I guess. But yeah, this album, they loved it, and I think it would be worthwhile, because this is questioning, is this a 5-star album? And I am questioning specifically the opinion of, I guess, the main reviewer on Jesus Freak Hideout, the guy who wrote this review, who is Alex Tin Can Caldwell, as he is known, one of the biggest staffers, one of the most prominent names on the site, been around for a while, reviewed a lot of albums, and I'm just gonna kind of talk about his review. If you want all my specific thoughts on all the songs in the album, then you can watch my review for the album, like I'm linking it in the description. But here I want to specifically talk about the album through the lens of this 5-star review. In the basic summary of the review at the beginning of the review, Alex Caldwell writes, Propaganda's Crooked is a face-melting, hot-pot masterpiece of an album that weaves comedy, history, self-reflection, and the gospel, an exotic stew of beats and sounds that are mixed just right. And he also mentions that it was produced by Beautiful Eulogy, which is really cool. Beautiful Eulogy, if you don't know, they're like the face of Humble Beast Records. They're also the backbone of Humble Beast. They do tons of production for Humble Beast rappers like Propaganda. Let's go Humble Beast. But and he basically says this album's a masterpiece and it's the best album of the year. Something that, if you've seen my best albums of 2017, you know I don't agree with, but still a really great album. And let's just move on from there. This review is pretty short. There's the short opening paragraph, and there's 2 paragraphs, and then a short, ending 2-sentence conclusion. And he only talks about the actual songs in this first, long paragraph, really the second paragraph of the piece, of the review. And he only mentions Crooked Ways, the first track, I Hate Cats, which is the kind of an interlude skit track, and then Made Straight, which is not the last track, the second to last track, because there's the bonus track, I See PTSD. But he doesn't really talk about the songs specifically. Besides these, and he details some information on the first track, which he says it's an epic 6-minute title track, mixes a history lesson on life as a minority throughout American history, and needs about 30 listens to capture all the references. So he talks about how dense the album is, and really what he says about this song can be said about a lot of the tracks. And I do agree with everything he says about this track, but I just feel like a 5-star review should kind of justify why you're giving something 5 stars. And Alex Caldwell doesn't really do that with this review. In the next paragraph, Alex Caldwell talks about the album more generally and about basically just talking about how Propaganda is a genius and kind of talks about how dense the album is. He says there is a lot to unpack on the album, and listeners should be prepared to Google all the historical references that Propaganda throws down at a dizzying pace, but those who dig in will find their perspectives challenged and minds sharpened. It says Crooked is an album of such lyrical and thematic quality that transcends both its genre of hip-hop and music in general, with its cerebral take on what being a thinking follower of Christ looks like in the 21st century. And he basically compares Propaganda to C.S. Lewis. And I think this is all interesting information, and I agree that the album is extremely dense, but once again, he doesn't talk about specifics, and he doesn't even mention, there's a moment in the review where he might suggest one of the songs, but he doesn't even mention the song It's Not Working. He doesn't even mention it. And It's Not Working, another reviewer does mention it in their, the 2 cents reviews, which are usually shorter than the main review, even shorter than the main review. And another reviewer, Chase Tremaine, talked about It's Not Working and about how it's one of the most beautiful songs he's ever heard. And it really is. And it really is like the crux of the whole album, in my opinion. It completely changes the meaning of the album. And the fact that Alex Caldwell doesn't even mention this track and just kind of talks about 3 songs. He mentions 3 songs specifically, and then just kind of generalizes the rest of the album. It just feels like he's kind of doing an injustice and not really making a strong case for this album being 5 stars. It's mostly like, wow, this thing is like a masterpiece. This is next level. Propaganda is next level, without, telling us why. Giving us a lot of specific reasons why. More of just a general. And you know what? I think ultimately that's okay, because especially in the context of this album on the site, how it went on to be this legendary thing, and having this review that just talks about it like it's this ethereal, legendary, words cannot do it justice kind of album, I guess it makes sense in the context of the mythology of the album on the site, the legacy of this album on the site. It might, it might be 100 years from now, it may be the most positively reviewed album on the entire site. I don't know. Well, I guess time will tell. But, yeah. In the 2-sentence ending, he says that the album also rocks, jumps around, and sounds better than anything put out so far this year. It's just icing on the cake. So he basically says, oh yeah, by the way, it sounds amazing. He says that at the beginning, he says that it's mixed perfectly. Like the beats and the sounds, and the production is great, basically, which I agree with. I think it's pretty great. I do think the album has some small flaws. I think the song Olympian is not the best. And then I think, what's the other one? Do No Wrong is kind of, I have really small nitpicks with the album, which keep me from giving it a 5-star review. If I had to, review it again, I would give it the same score, 4.5 out of 5. I can imagine in the future, like 5 years from now or whatever, and I go back and I'm like, what's a perfect album from 2017? What's a perfect rap album? Crooked. What deserves 5? Even if it's not perfect, what deserves 5 stars? Crooked. I still think it's the best Propaganda album. I still think it's, an amazing kind of masterwork. But, I try to save my 5-star reviews, bro. I don't have a problem with this being the most positively reviewed album on the Jesus Freak Hideout site. But, Crooked. It's a great album. You should check it out. Not giving it 5 stars. What do you think of Crooked? You like this album? You dislike this album? What do you think of Jesus Freak Hideout? Have you seen the site? If you haven't, I highly recommend you check it out. I can link the homepage or whatever in the description of this video. I feel like I'm trying to link a lot of things in the description of this video. I'll link my Propaganda videos. I've done a couple reviews of Propaganda and stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you did, honestly, I recommend just, instead of watching this, you should just watch my review of Crooked. This is a very specific kind of video addressing a specific thing. Anyway, it's fall. It's absolutely beautiful outside. Leaves are falling all around me. This is awesome. I'm so glad I decided to film outside today. Have a great rest of your day.